Hello friends, welcome to the Anatomy Hub. Today we will study about the oral region. So the oral region means the oral cavity. So this oral cavity that is located below the nasal cavity and anterior to the pharynx, and it is bounded superiorly by the palate, the hard palate and the soft palate, inferiorly by the tongue and the muscular floor that you can see over here, anteriorly by the lips, upper lips and the lower lips, and posteriorly by the uvula, and laterally by the cheeks, or you can say the inner cheek lining and the buccal mucosa. So little bit about the lips. So the lips, that is the frame of the mouth, and that surrounds the oral fissure, the opening into the oral cavity. So the lips that contains the sphincter like orbicularis oris muscle and superior and inferior labial muscle. Externally, they are covered by the skin, and internally, they are covered by the mucous membrane of oral cavity. The philtrum, that is an external midline depression on the upper lip, that you will find over here. So that extends superiorly to the nasal septum. The labial frenula that you can see here is a upper labial frenula, and here you will find the lower labial frenulum. Okay, so inferior labial frenulum and the superior labial frenulum. Okay, these two things are there. Like that, here you will find another frenulum, that is the lingual frenulum. Okay, so this frenula, the upper and lower frenulum, plural is the frenula. They are the midline folds of mucous membrane, and that attaches the inner surface of the upper and lower lips to the gum. So you'll find the cleft lip sometimes, that the unilateral cleft lip, bilateral cleft lip. So this cleft lip, that is the congenital defect that occurs early in embryonic life, when the maxillary prominence and the median nasal prominence that fail to fuse with each other. Approximately in the ratio of 1 is to 1000 life, they are suffering from the cleft lip, and it is more common in male than the female. And the cleft that may be unilateral or that may be bilateral, and is described as here in this picture. And when it extends into the nose and incomplete, and when it appears as a notch in the lip, that you can do the corrective surgery, usually performed when the infant is around 10 weeks old. The cheeks, the inner cheek, they are the continuous with the lips, that you can observe over here, from the walls of the mouth and the buccal region of the face. The buccinator muscle that you will find over here, that is innervated by the buccal branch of the facial nerve, that forms the movable wall of the cheek. So buccal fat pads also you will find, that encapsulated cushion of fat that lie superficial to the buccinator muscles, and are it is proportionately large in infants, and reduced when the age grows. The zygomatic bone and the zygomatic arch from the cheekbone that also uh, comprises the oral region. The teeth are anchored in alveoli of the maxillary and the mandibular dental arches. The children have 20 deciduous teeth which are replaced at the predictable intervals between the ages of 7 to 25 years, and adult they have the 32 teeth consisting of your incisor teeth, the canine teeth, the premolar teeth and the molar teeth. The gingiva or gums that made up of the fibrous covered by the mucous membrane of the oral cavity, and they are firmly attached to the maxilla and to the mandible. The oral cavity, here you can see the oral cavity or the mouth that can be divided into two regions, the oral vestibule region and the oral cavity proper. The oral vestibule, that is the narrow space between the lips and the cheeks and the dental arches of the maxilla and the mandible. The oral cavity proper, that is the space bounded anteriorly and laterally by the upper and lower dental arches, and superiorly the palate that forms the roof, and inferiorly the tongue that rests on the muscular floor. The oral cavity that connects posteriorly to the pharynx through a narrow space that is known as the phaseal isthmus, that you can observe over here. So this is your phaseal isthmus. So this is the anterior view of the divisions of the oral cavity. So muscles that form the floor of the mouth, that is the suprahyoid muscles. So the suprahyoid muscles, they are attached to the hyoid bone in the neck, and they have a complex innervation with contribution from the trigeminal nerve and the facial nerve, and also by the C1 spinal nerve via the hypoglossal nerve. The lingual, facial and the maxillary branches of the external carotid artery that supplies the lips, cheeks or the mouth and the upper and lower part of the teeth. The trigeminal nerve that transmits the sensation from the mouth, the superior alveolar branch of the maxillary division that innervates the upper teeth, the inferior alveolar, lingual and the buccal branches of the mandibular division innervates the cheek and the lower teeth and the floor of the mouth. So visceral motor fibers carried by the cauda tympani branch of your facial nerve, they synapse in the submandibular ganglion in the floor of the mouth, and the postganglionic fibers travel via the lingual nerve to innervate the submandibular and sublingual glands. The palate that forms the roof of the oral cavity and floor of the nasal cavity, and it separates the oral cavity from the pharynx posteriorly. The nasal mucosa covers the superior surface and the oral mucosa, they densely packed with the mucus secreting palatine glands and covers the inferior surface. The palate has anterior and posterior region. The hard palate that is formed by the palatine process of the maxilla and the horizontal process of the palatine bone that make up the anterior 2/3 of the pellet. The soft pellet that you can observe over here, after this hard pellet, this is the sagittal section. So here you can see the posterior third of the pellet that has an anterior aponeurotic part that is attached to the hard pellet, and a posterior muscular part that you can observe over here with an unattached posterior margin, and that ends in a conical projection. So this conical projection is known as the uvula. Okay. Sometimes you will find the cleft pellet, that is the congenital defect that occurs early in the embryonic life when the lateral palatine process they fail to fuse with each other with the nasal septum or with the median palatine process. So it can be seen in the rate of 1:2500 births and is more common in female than the male. So the cleft or the fissure or opening that can be described as complete when it involves the soft and hard pellet both, and it can be termed as a incomplete when it appears as a hole in the roof of the mouth, usually in the soft pellet, and in such cases the uvula is usually also it splits. The cleft connects the oral cavity directly to the nasal cavity. Initial treatment that involves the use of a prosthetic device called a palatal obturator to seal the cleft until the corrective surgery is performed. When the infant will be between the 6 to 12 months old. During swallowing, the muscles of the short palate that can tense and elevate it against the posterior pharyngeal wall to prevent the food from passing into the nasal cavity. Then they can also draw the palate downward against the tongue to prevent the food from entering the pharynx. So muscles of the palate that include the paired palatoglossal and palatopharyngeal arches that is formed by the palatoglossus muscle and palatopharyngeus muscles that anchor the short palate to the tongue and to the pharynx. Greater palatine and lesser palatine and the spinopalatine branches of the maxillary artery, they supply the palate, both the hard palate and to the short palate. So the greater palatine, lesser palatine and the nasopalatine branches of the maxillary division, they carry the sensory innervation from the palate. Then come to the tongue. So the tongue, that is a muscular organ and that is involved in speech, taste and manipulation of the food during the initial phase of swallowing. 2/3 of the tongue that lies in the oral cavity and the remainder that forms the anterior wall of the oropharynx. The part of the pharynx posterior to the oral cavity. Tongue has three parts: the root, the body and the apex. The sulcus terminalis that you can observe over here, that is a groove on the dorsum of the tongue and divides the anterior 2/3 of the tongue from the posterior 1/3 part of the tongue. That is a small pit you will find over here at the center of the groove, that is known as the foramen cecum. Okay, marks the embryonic origin of the thyroid gland. Here this is the superior view, the V-shaped sulcus terminalis that divides the tongue into an anterior, or you can say oral, or you can say the pre-sulcal region, and the posterior 1/3 part known as the pharyngeal part or post-sulcal part. The numerous lingual papillae, many that containing the taste buds, give the mucosa of the anterior 2/3 part of the tongue and its rough texture. You will find the velvet papillae, the largest of the lingual papillae, are arranged in a row directly anterior to the sulcus terminalis. You can see these are the velvet papillae. Then you will find the foliate papillae. They are found in small lateral folds of the lingual mucosa and they are not well developed. The filiform papillae that contains the afferent nerve endings that are sensitive to the touch and not to the taste sensation. They are highly keratinized and facilitate the rasp-like licking activity. You will find the fungiform papillae. They are most numerous at the apex of the tongue and at the margin of the tongue. The lingual tonsil that you will find over here, both the side, is the collection of the lymphoid follicles and the lymphoid nodules distributed over the mucosa of the posterior part of the tongue, and lingual tonsils have the crypts that are flushed by the glands below to these lymphatic nodes. The frenulum of the tongue, that is a midline mucosal fold, attaches the inferior surface of the tongue to the floor of the oral cavity and that restricts its movement. The extrinsic muscles of the tongue that you can observe over here. So this is the left lateral view. You can see the extrinsic muscles of the tongue which originate outside the tongue and they are the responsible for the primarily for the tongue movement, and they include your genioglossus, hyoglossus, palatoglossus and the styloglossus muscles. The intrinsic muscles of the tongue, they have no bony attachments and they are responsible for changing the shape and size of the tongue. They include the superior and inferior longitudinal muscles and the transverse and vertical muscles. So all the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles of the tongue except the palatoglossus, they are innervated by the hypoglossal nerve, means the cranial nerve 12th. The palatoglossus, that is innervated by the vagus nerve. The lingual arteries, that is the branch of your external carotid artery, supply to the tongue, and the lingual veins accompany the arteries and they drain into the internal jugular vein. The lymph from the tongue ultimately drains to the deep cervical lymph nodes and to the jugular lymph nodes in the neck. Although the drainage from the various parts of the tongue, they follow 4 different pathways that you can observe here, like your submental, submandibular, your superior deep cervical and the internal jugular lymph nodes, and here you will find the inferior deep cervical lymph nodes. So these drainage, they are clinically important in the metastasis of the lingual tumor. Then you can observe over here how the tongue, it drains to the superior deep cervical lymph nodes and the inferior deep cervical lymph nodes. So all these lymph ultimately they will drain into the deep cervical and the jugular lymph nodes in the neck region. The 5 cranial nerve that is your trigeminal, facial, glossopharyngeal, vagus and the hypoglossal that innervate the tongue, and they carry motor, general sensory and special sensory fibers. So here you can see that the anterior 2/3 part of the tongue that is innervated by the chorda tympani, that is the facial nerve, and the anterior 2/3 part of the tongue, that taste sensation is carried by facial, but the general sensation that is carried by the lingual nerve branch of your mandibular nerve, that is the third division of the trigeminal nerve. Like that, the posterior 1/3 part of the tongue, the taste sensation is carried by the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the general sensation also carried by the glossopharyngeal nerves. And most posteriorly and to the uvula and the oropharynx, that taste sensation is carried by the vagus nerve, and the general sensation is carried by the vagus nerve only. The lymph that flows to the submental and the submandibular lymph nodes of the tongue and the oral floor, which ultimately drain into the jugular lymph nodes along the internal jugular vein, because the lymph nodes, they receive drainage from both the ipsilateral and the contralateral side. So here in this picture you can observe that the tumor cells, they may become widely disseminated in the region that is at the metastatic squamous cell carcinoma, especially in the lateral border of the tongue. Frequently metastasis to the opposite side of the tongue. Here in this picture we will see there are three pairs of the salivary gland: the parotid, sublingual and submandibular salivary gland, which produces and secrete the saliva into the mouth. The sublingual gland, that will be present below to the tongue, and this is the smallest of all these three glands, and they lie deep to the mucosa of the floor of the mouth, they forming the sublingual folds, which secretes the saliva through the numerous small ducts. The submandibular gland, that has a superficial part located in the neck, and the deep part that is located here in this oral region around the posterior border of the mylohyoid muscle. The submandibular or the Watson's duct that open via the sublingual papillae at the base of your lingual frenulum. The parotid gland, the largest of these three glands, that is located in the parotid region on the lateral side of the head and anterior to the ear, and this parotid duct opens into the vestibule of the mouth at the parotid papilla that is located adjacent to the second maxillary molar tooth. The facial, lingual, maxillary and superficial temporal arteries, they supply the salivary glands. Veins of similar names accompany to these arteries and drain into the retromandibular vein. All these things we have discussed during the parotid gland. You can go through the video also here in the head and neck playlist. The sublingual and the submandibular glands, they receive the parasympathetic secretomotor fibers via the chorda tympani, that is the branch of your seventh cranial nerve, and from the submandibular ganglion. The parotid gland, it receives the secretomotor fiber, means the parasympathetic fibers of the glossopharyngeal nerve, means cranial nerve 9th, and that synapse in the otic ganglion. The sympathetic innervation to all these glands, they arises from the superior cervical ganglion and follows the branches of the external carotid artery. So here we have completed the quick revision of the oral region. Hope you got a better idea about the oral region. So thanks for watching.